If you're a performance-oriented runner, in other words, you just want to get better at the sport of running, it's hard to argue against the long run being one of the most valuable workouts that you could do. Even though it's technically not a workout, I consider it one of the best single types of runs you could go on to improve your abilities as a runner. And that's because long runs do a lot of different things for us as runners. And in this video, I want to talk about why you should do a regular long run. We're going to talk about different types of long runs. And I want to talk a little bit more about capacity workouts that improve your capacity as a runner. In other words, they improve your ability to do more as a runner, which inevitably leads to you getting a lot faster. I fell in love with long runs when I was a college runner. I didn't do too many in high school. It wasn't a big staple of our cross-country and track programs. But when I got to college, all of a sudden we were expected to be running anywhere between 90 minutes and 2 hours every Sunday morning, which for us usually meant somewhere between 13 and 17 miles. Now, there were guys on the team that ran more than this, up to 20 miles, even though we were only training for 8K cross country or 10,000 meters on the track. And when you think about that, as well as the fact that, some of the best middle distance runners in the world are regularly doing 16 to 18 mile long runs, we recognize how valuable the long run is, even for our middle distance runners. So if you're someone who might have an eye to the marathon, or you're really training for a good half marathon, you understand how important a long run really is. Now, the long run is simply the longest run that you do every week, and I would certainly encourage you to get in a 10+ mile long run once a week. This really ensures that you're building that aerobic capacity, you're continuously building endurance, which in theory is infinite. You can always be working on your aerobic metabolism, whereas something like your VO2 max is a little bit limited. It's only so trainable, and it's partly dependent upon your genetics. And so your actual VO2 max number is not going to be truly indicative of your potential, which is why we don't do VO2 max workouts all the time, whereas we should be doing a long run almost all the time, most weeks of the year. And so what I want to do in this video is talk about some of the different types of long runs that you can do and some tips on how to make them as impactful as possible for your fitness level. Now, long runs are incredible because they do a lot of things. Of course, they build your aerobic fitness, they build up that endurance, which is incredibly important for all of us distance runners, but they also help you get faster. One of the things that happens, especially at the end of a long run, is that you fatigue your slow twitch muscle fibers, and then your body is forced to recruit your fast twitch muscle fibers. So even though you might be running really easy at the end of a long run, you're actually getting faster because you're recruiting the same muscle fiber types that you would when you're doing a VO2 max workout. Now, the key is you actually have to run long enough and get fatigued enough. So that's why we should always be doing a long run and challenging ourselves with the distance of that long run. It also makes us much more efficient with our fuel use. So by almost depleting our carbohydrate stores through running very long, we get more efficient at meeting out those carbs only when we need them. So running long on the regular is over time going to make you a much more fuel efficient runner. So if you're a marathoner, if you're an ultra marathon runner, you understand this is why we've got to be doing those long runs so regularly. Yes, they're going to be building endurance, but they're also going to be building your speed and your efficiency with your carbohydrate usage. Now, when you first get started with long runs, the only real goal is to accomplish the distance. So let's keep the effort really easy. Let's not put any performance expectations on ourselves. Let's just run whatever mileage or time that you're going to do at an easy effort, and that's going to be building that aerobic fitness that we so desperately need as distance runners. And then once you are comfortable with some of these longer distances, then you can start doing some more advanced types of long runs. You can focus on being in high zone 2 for the majority of the long run. You can focus on running some goal pace during these long runs. So some of my favorite long runs are, let's say, a 20-mile long run where you run the final 5 to 10 miles at your goal marathon pace. Now that's a more challenging long run. It's not going to be appropriate for every aspiring marathoner out there, but it gives you a good endpoint. You know, a 20-mile run with the final 10 miles at marathon pace, this is a great endpoint to work to over the course of several marathon seasons. And so even though you might not be ready for that workout, maybe you can run 18 miles with the final 3 at marathon pace. Just goes to show you can modify these types of workouts and give yourself a really great stimulus to help you get to that next level with your race performances. I have upgraded my daily greens mix. You have to try how good Previnex's Gut and Green Superfoods mix is. It tastes way better than my last greens mix, and I'm so happy to have made the switch. Now, not just because it tastes better, but because it has twice the fiber, it has clinically proven ingredients that help with digestion and gut health, and it actually has fewer ingredients. And this is actually a good thing. My last greens mix had dozens and dozens of greens in it, but in such tiny quantities that you're not getting much out of it. I'd rather focus on quality over quantity. And like everything from Previnex, they have clinically studied ingredients that are going to help with your GI system, your digestion. It's going to reduce inflammation and really help with your gut health. So thank you, Previnex, for using clinically verified ingredients. You got to check out their amazing apple flavor on Previnex.com. And if you want 20% off, use code JASONGREENS. And by the way, for every order, Previnex donates a bottle of multivitamins to kids in need. So thank you, Previnex. Now, if you are a half marathoner and you want to do some more half marathon specific long runs, one of the things that you can do is turn your long runs into an interval workout. We're going to be running segments at your goal half marathon pace. And I think for a slightly faster pace, like a half marathon effort, we don't want to be doing this at the very end of a 20-mile long run because our form is going to be suffering. And with that inefficient movement pattern, we might predispose ourselves to an injury risk. And I like to stay away from that. But doing something like 3 by 2 miles in the middle of, say, a 16 or 18 mile long run at your goal half marathon pace, that's a fantastic workout. And what we can do is take a pretty substantial recovery, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, to ensure that we're adequately recovered in between these segments at half marathon pace. Really excellent way of building half marathon specific fitness in a way that is going to be very relevant to our performances on race day. Another great type of long run is the fatigue resistance long run, where we're not doing anything super race specific, but this is another great example of a capacity building workout where the goal is simply to become a better runner in the future. So a fatigue resistance long run might look like something where, let's say you're going to run 16 miles. Instead of just running 16 miles easy, you might run 14 miles and then do a series of hill repetitions where the goal is to challenge yourself, to get fatigued, to recruit more muscle fibers. And you're doing this when you're already really tired after a long run. And this is a great session at helping you resist fatigue when you're already very tired. Fantastic skill set to have when you're training for a long race like the half marathon or longer. If you haven't fallen in love with the long run yet, I hope you do soon. We have learned today that they are appropriate for milers to ultramarathoners. They not only build your endurance, but they build your speed, they build your efficiency with carbohydrate. They also improve your ability to be a better runner in the future. So it's not necessarily an investment in current you, in present you. It's an investment in your future self as a runner because they build your capacity for more work over time. One of the best reasons why I love long runs, and I think it's an indispensable type of run to do on a weekly basis. So maybe 48 weeks out of the year, you should be doing a long run. If you're not, then I think we're limiting ourselves because we're not focusing on aerobic development as much as we should. Now, I want to open the floor up for long run questions because you can run long run workouts, you can run easy long runs, you can do all kinds of different things with long runs to be more specific to a race, to be more general to focus on the future and help you build that capacity. So let me know what questions you have about long runs. They are such an integral part of the training process that I want to make sure we give them their due and that you're clear on every aspect of this very valuable type of run.